Hi, I'm Toby West. I'm from Coastline College in Southern California, here to talk about CyberTech Girls, our initiative that helps develop pathways, what some people might call the cybersecurity workforce pipeline, through events and activities that engage with middle school and high school girls. I teach cybersecurity and computer networking courses at Coastline. I'm also department chair and full-time tenured faculty. I enjoy developing curriculum and helping to engage with kids and college students to help them find their cybersecurity profession of the future. Just a little bit about what Coastline is and what we do. We are a two-year community college. We do have an Associate of Science in Cybersecurity and about 5 degrees under our CIS and CST departments. Um, those range from Microsoft Server emphasis to we are developing AWS soon, but we also have a data analytics degree and a couple of others, CCNA from Cisco, to help students find the right coursework and program that leads towards the cybersecurity, the cybersecurity role that they want in their future. Um, we typically have our college students are in the range most often between 35 and 45. They're either upskilling or reskilling depending on what their emphasis is. The ones coming in through Cisco Academy, they often are wanting to upskill so that they can change over. They come and they find out through our Cisco program that we have a robust cybersecurity program as a center of academic excellence, and they then find out about cybersecurity and want to change and go into cybersecurity. This happens quite frequently as they're enjoying their time with the Cisco program. Um, we also have a lot of dual and concurrent enrollment pathways that we are working to develop, and a few that are already in place. Those have been developed over the past few years, some using NetLab, if you're familiar with that. It's a remote networking environment that the students can use safely, so they don't have to make modifications to their computer. They go in through a web browser. This is very beneficial because it reduces the cost and the time that they might have to take to set up their own network and labs to prepare them. And that we found it to be a very beneficial way for us to connect with our local high schools and develop those dual and concurrent enrollment programs where they teach our classes on their campus, which might be during the bell or it might be after the bell, depending. And so you can see we have a very deep connection with the local high schools and more of a reason to do outreach such as CyberTech Girls. If we can go to the next slide, please. I wanted to share a bit about myself so you can understand the background and why these things are important to me, where I'm coming from and where I plan to go as well. I'm currently a PhD student at Dakota State University, another center of academic excellence. I'm focused on privacy and forensics. Right now I'm in a student group, a student club that helps us develop out our research projects on privacy and learn a lot about the frameworks and different aspects, different perspectives. I think it's very beneficial. So as a student myself, I try to take into consideration, what I'm experiencing and how that can benefit my students at Coastline College. At Dakota State, I am fully online. So that's an experience that I can share with my students as well to help try to see from their perspective, how the class is set up or different things from that direction. As I mentioned, I'm department chair and full professor at Coastline College. And I got my MSBA at Cal Poly Pomona. And it was with an emphasis in business administration, but then the focus is computer information systems and information assurance, where I had classes in forensics, one that was basically emphasizing CISSP and then networking, so that I could see the different ways and different avenues that students might want to go when they're approaching their career. Perhaps they want to focus more classes on a certain a certain area because they know that that's what they'll be working in the future. So Cal Poly Pomona is also a center of academic excellence, and this seems to be my trend that I find the programs that are the best and most aligned with what's going on in the workforce, but also what's going on in government and industry at the same time, without only being focused on one, area. I find that to be very beneficial for my students as well, and I try to let them know how important it is that we're aligned with the NICE cybersecurity workforce framework as well. If you can go to the next slide. So what we like to talk to students about is that basically data is everywhere. There's so much data that they are creating on their own, but also is out there for, analysis or security, or even to keep it private. So we talk to them about the different elements of IoT devices and, smart home devices that are now collecting all of these elements of data, and how are they going to be secure? How is the network itself going to secure the data, and what are they doing to make sure that they don't overshare data? Because it is almost expected that you're oversharing with the way that social media is set up, that it has an expectation that you will share everything. Put all of your photos out there, let us know when you're going somewhere, let us know what you had for dinner. All of these things are being put out there, and are the students really aware that they may need to or may want to be more private in the future? Maybe there's an eagerness at some ages to want to overshare because they see that their maybe older sibling or somebody in their household is sharing quite a bit of information, and they're eager to get on social media, but maybe their parents are currently preventing them from doing that because they don't want them to put too much out there. So we try to talk to them about that online safety aspect, about that there is all of this data, not only to be protected, but don't put too much out there on your own as well. So I think that this gives us an opportunity to explain to the middle school, high school, and college students in our outreach events that there is so much to the cybersecurity workforce pipeline, that the more data that is being collected and shared, the more we need that to be secured and kept private. If you can go to the next slide, please. One of the current projects that I'm working on is NSF grant funded. We started in 2018. I'm working with Fullerton College on the project to develop what we're calling our project is called Cyber Up. It's digital forensics and incident response. It's a 60 unit degree. That's our typical number of units for an associate's degree at the community college level in California. For that program, we've worked with an advisory board to weave together the NICE cybersecurity workforce framework, using CyberSeek as the pathways for the jobs that are relevant for forensics and incident response, and then bringing in SANS Institute, their objectives for their exams, so that we can bring all of this together and ensure that it's part of the curriculum, that the students can be prepared for those forensics and incident response work roles. At this point, we're 2 years in. We're rounding out into our third year, which will finalize the project. We've created the degree, the certificate, all of the classes have been created from a curriculum perspective. And we worked with government, industry, academia, and the high schools to find what they thought was needed for those types of classes with the curriculum, but also what do they see in the work role, to ensure that the students get not only the technical skills needed, but what are some of those soft skills or critical thinking type of skills that will challenge them to understand the material beyond the simple, I took a quiz and I passed the quiz, or I took an exam and I memorized the answers. We want them to really be prepared with those critical thinking skills, the knowledge of the career pathways, the understanding of what the work role is like, what the different industries are, or even the government jobs that are available in these areas so that they aren't surprised when they finish and they know where they want to go for their 4-year degree or beyond. And like I said, some students are upskilling, and so they're going from some other job, or maybe they're reskilling into these jobs from something else. So we've taken that into consideration as we're developing the pathways. We want to consider that some students may be coming, maybe even in our current or dual enrollment classes, or they may be coming from the high school into the program with some limited experience with computers, or they may be coming in with 20 or 25 years of IT experience, and now they want to go into this realm. And the electives, we're working on those and they're coming soon. We're first building out all of the labs in the 6 courses that are part of this 60-unit degree. Those 6 courses will have some elements of what will become the electives as far as mobile device forensics and cloud forensics, because we want to get their feet wet so they understand that these are all part of digital forensics investigation. We're currently working with several people from industry to develop out the labs and ensure that they have hands-on expertise when the students come out, and that expertise is relevant to what's going on in the field today, so that the students are doing what they might get trained on if they were to go to the workforce and get training with their employer. The classes will be fully online, so the program will be completely available to anyone, anywhere. We will also be putting it into Canvas, which is a learning management system that will allow others to make a copy of that. We'll export our classes, and that will be available to others across the United States that want to use it, or wherever that they want to use it. The Canvas Commons make it so that you can download it and get the entire copy. The labs will be made in what I referred to earlier for NetLab, and that means that it's accessible to people who are running the NetLab servers on their campus or within their region. We are also a regional NetLab hub, so we offer our NetLab services to other colleges in the region, which means that they can adapt and adopt this program as well for themselves. So the 6 classes will have a full set of assignments. They'll have all of the materials based on textbooks, not OER textbooks, unfortunately, but that's a little bit more difficult. But we will be focusing on current textbooks, and all of that material will be available in those Canvas exports for teachers and faculty that want to take this on for their own program, and they can take 1 or all 6 classes. Next slide, please. So we're looking at this massive growth in our area for cybersecurity, and there's a large gap to be closed. That gap is the skills gap between the supply and demand of cybersecurity workers. If there aren't enough in the future, we're looking at a security issue, right? We already know that we have a problem with our adversaries can advance very quickly. They share resources, they share scripts, they share everything, from the dark web and beyond. They are constantly working together, nation states paying for cybersecurity red team to attack our defenses. So we need to build up people that are prepared to help us close the gap and better defend our organizations and governments worldwide. Since there is no law of the land, there is no global governance for information technology and cybersecurity, we don't have any way to protect ourselves unless we develop these skilled workers of the future. And if you're looking at the gender gap and diversity issues, which we know is a hot topic, we have a large gender gap between, the number of females working in the field. Some reports will say, 11%, some will say up to 25%, just depending on what you're looking at. But we wanted to focus on this. I initially was a little bit hesitant or reluctant, going back to say 2015, 2016, when I was a student at Cal Poly. I was hesitant to start a girls program because I didn't want to emphasize one gender over the other until I heard Jennifer, I believe was her name, from Facebook. She was working security at the time. I want to say she was director of security, and spoke at a conference, and she shared some of the survey results and explained what girls are experiencing, that they're sort of directed and guided to go to more of the nurturing type of careers. And oftentimes they are told to go to a 4-year school, go into a profession that is well known, well regarded, say a doctor, a lawyer, those types of professions. And some of that is because their parents maybe don't know what security is. They maybe don't know the salaries, the benefits, the opportunities. And that, to me, cybersecurity is a sort of nurturing field because we need to care for our organizations. They live and breathe because we keep them secure, because we keep things running, and we want to see the growth and expansion of those organizations through securing them and keeping them safe from, one is from fines, but also to keep the data safe so that the company stays whole without being disrupted by large security issues. So my journey into it started then in 2016 as I recognized the need for events that were focused on girls. I went to high schools personally and I saw that the boys would tell the girls not to come to our events, which was quite surprising. And it drove me that much more. It gave me that much more drive because I found that it was critical to help girls see and understand the job opportunities. Whether they chose it or not is another thing, right? That's up to the girls. But if they don't know what's out there and they don't know what the careers are like and that they're skilled enough for these jobs, maybe they won't choose it just because they don't know about it. So we started at Coastline College our first event in 2016, and surprisingly had 125 kids, more than the room could hold, and their teachers, and everyone came, and it was phenomenal. For us, very exciting to see so many girls, and in the buzz in the room just brought that much more thrill and excitement to everything. So next slide, please. So we try to share what those job opportunities are, and CyberSeek recently updated this year to show that there's 500,000 job openings in cybersecurity. That's incredible. How do you fill this gap unless you make people aware through outreach events what the job opportunities are, what those jobs are like, to build their interest in them? So we try to share what CyberSeek is so that the students can go home and talk to their parents. I send follow-up email also to the parents to let them know of the resources that we talk to the girls about. And I do see and recognize that in middle school, the kids want to be, say, an artist, something creative, or they might be aware of a doctor in their family. And then that's the job that they emphasize when they come in to talk to us. So we try to share these salaries, and I see that, potentially they're not going to know what these salaries are in relation to, buying a house, or in relation to the other jobs. They just want to know that it's lucrative, that it makes enough money to have a living wage and buy a house, or live in the area that they want to live in with their parents, or something like that. So we try to share this information and get it out there and let them see the interactive maps of CyberSeek and the career pathway opportunities so that they can look to the future as well. Next slide, please. So getting into talking about what is a CyberTech Girls Day, what does that look like? Who's coming in? What do we experience? Leading up to it, I do put out a lot of promotional material to our CTE directors in the area, and they help us to get the girls to be aware of the program that we offer it typically on a Saturday, and usually it's in person. So our last event was on Leap Day, right before all of the pandemic and everything started. So we were fully aware and did all of the appropriate wipe down, and everything was good from that regard, and no issues came out of that. But we build up through our local districts. Our local districts are usually in the 50 to 60,000 student range. So it gives you an idea of how many students we are able to, give attention to and let them know about the program. And I also reach out to mentors that want to come from industry to talk with us and meet with the girls and be part of the day. And the ways that they help is to let the students know what their careers are like. And they also they also want to know that they're as included and as invited as the girls are. So usually I will talk with multiple industry representatives in all different aspects of technology, and we will talk in advance about what the day will be like and how they can help with running each workshop. So it's a great way for me to connect with industry, and many have stayed on with the advisory board or come to additional events. Middle school and high school girls are invited, so we go from 7th to 12th grade. And it's just a 1 day event, usually 5 to 6 hours with rotating workshops. Our initial opening is talking about empowerment. And the reason for that is it gives us an opportunity to talk about cyberbullying, online safety, but also the empowerment that they are allowed to choose their job and choose their college experience in the future. So not to be, too heavily influenced by too many external factors, but still being mindful that they do need to probably still listen to their parents. um, the mentors, as I mentioned, I typically focus on female mentors and keep the male mentors light. I often have male mentors that ask if they can come, and yes, definitely, but I try to make sure that it's heavier weighted on the female mentors just because it is a girl focused day. We do hands-on activities throughout the day to keep the day moving, with intermittent small lectures or talks to let them know what it is they're doing with the hands-on activities, and so that they're aware of how it connects with the jobs. And then if you can go to the next slide, please. So the day begins with all of the mentors coming in. They'll help me set up the room. We do full tablecloths and everything so that the room is transformed into a nice room and looks very ready for the girls to come in for the day. And I meet and greet with the mentors that are coming, as mentioned, from industry and government roles, so that we can find out how they would like to share their information with the girls. We have all of the tables set up with beads ready to make bracelets, and a binary table on the table so that the students can see how to make the bracelets that will be their first and last initials of their name. And that gets everyone talking. That gets the girls talking. And mind you, they're coming from all different schools. So they might have a friend that they brought, or they might not know anyone in the room. And the binary bracelets really gets them moving around and seeing, and they want to pick their favorite color. They want to know if they're doing it right. And this is where the mentors come in and start talking with the girls, and it gives us a chance to let everyone come in, sort of from the registration table, moving slowly into the room, as you might see in a regular conference. And with a room of 125 girls, we got to keep them engaged when they come in. They're not going to just want to sit there. So after the binary bracelets, we explain some of those, the supply and demand, the shortage of skilled cybersecurity workforce of the future, that this is all part of the pipeline. Basically, why are we here for the day, and what is cybersecurity? Many of them have not heard of cybersecurity before, but now at this point, being 4 or 5 years into it, I do have some repeat customers. They really enjoy the program, and they come into it knowing that they're doing the same workshops that they did the prior year, and they really love it. So our rotating workshops, we will group the students into 3 groups to go through, and or separate them into 3 groups to go through different classrooms on our campus. This lets them see what our campus is like, so that they know that it's safe, that we have security, that we have cameras, that everything's in place. And we are a smaller campus. We're a distributed campus, so we have buildings in different cities around Orange County, and that parking is easy. Their parents can see that they can quickly drop them off and pick them up to our 1 building campus in Garden Grove. And then, as I mentioned, we go through these workshops. And for me, the goal was to align these workshops as a pathway to our program. So we take them through like what we call A+ hardware setup, so that they can take apart a desktop computer and rebuild it. And you'd be surprised, some of them will come in immediately, want to grab that screwdriver and start taking apart the monitor. Even though we talked about taking apart the computer, they don't really know the difference. And this is our opportunity to let them know about different components of hardware and how that impacts the way the computer runs. We have also done a cabling workshop to let them build cables. We did this for GenCyber as well. You would think that this wouldn't be as thrilling of a assignment in the workshop as it was. They loved it. Those that didn't finish by lunchtime wanted to go at lunch and finish after they ate their lunch really quickly. They wanted to get back to that cabling workshop and finish. They wanted to take that working cable home. So we let them test it in our Cisco lab, and they just love this stuff. So the mock crime scene, this is my favorite. This was really what brought the event together for me and made me want to get it out there, and it ties back to that digital forensics and incident response program that I mentioned earlier in the presentation. So the mock crime scene is we have some dummy bodies, and they're stuffed in there. They're pretty good size, about 5 feet tall, and I dress them up in my clothing and my CyberTech Girls t-shirts, and we lay them out as if it's a crime scene. We put digital devices on them, so we let the girls collect that digital media evidence off of the bodies. We have full-blown incident markers. We have everything so that it mimics a crime scene. I walk them through as if I'm an FBI agent, so I get to be my dream job for the day, for the moment. And we have it all laid out so that small groups of girls will go through. I'll show you a picture in just a moment. And they collect the devices off of the dummy bodies in the crime scene. This gives them a chance to go through the chain of custody process so that they can understand the legal processes behind the collection of the evidence that we then take into the forensics lab so they can use the forensic software. At the crime scene, going through that chain of custody, we give them gloves. So they're wearing gloves. We give them a search warrant so they understand they can't enter the crime scene until they have that search warrant in hand. They take notes as if they're collecting the evidence and using those incident markers to take photos and document the crime scene. And this gives each one of the girls a role in the crime scene so that they can understand what they're supposed to do. And we don't let them just tear through and take things off of the body until they've documented it, which I think is very important for them to understand that this isn't a, a scavenger hunt, hurry up and do something. This has to be methodical and well thought out before they remove the evidence from the scene. So we walk each of the groups through this process, and this has become now many of the mentors, this is their favorite area as well, from CrowdStrike and the banking industry as well. They enjoy working on the mock crime scene with us. If we can go to the next slide, please. So this is what the crime scene might look like. You can see that the girls have their search warrant in hand, they have their gloves on, you can see those incident markers and notepads, and they're going and making sure that they document the scene. There's no face on the body just to make it a little bit less creepy, but still fun. And they go through their individual assignments, making sure that they are collecting the evidence and still working as a team, because they will point out if somebody is doing something ahead and jumping ahead. They will let them know, okay, you're doing that out of sequence. And you can see that binary bracelet on the girl's wrist there, which she had made earlier in the day. And I think that it really brings them together and lets them know what that work role could potentially be like. And from there, we go into the forensic software in another room, and we talk to them about how we're going into the forensic lab. And from there, we let them search for evidence. So we have a forensic image that is set up with a scenario that they can understand. We let them know that rhinoceros are taboo and you can't have pictures of the rhinoceros. So finding those pictures would be finding taboo evidence that is not allowed on that machine. So we walk them through different aspects, find thumbnails, find searches, online searches, through URL searches and things like that, so that they can see how somebody using the machine might have gone through gathering all what becomes evidence. They also report that evidence. For GenCyber, we took a significantly longer time on this portion of the crime scene, because in our one-day CyberTech Girls events, we just don't have enough time to spend fully developing an entire report. But with GenCyber, we had a lot of experienced students that had done Cyber Patriot and other activities related to cybersecurity. So those students were able to write some really phenomenal reports, as well as the students in my college classes who do those for their assignments. So I found it to be very interesting that they are already prepared, in the junior and senior level, they're ready to write these forensic reports already. Next slide, please. So call to action for those of you that are in the community, find a program like this, be on the advisory board, be a mentor, do something to help in your area. If you're not already doing that, we need it. We need all the help we can get. The girls really need it. The students, all of the students at every age range, they need it because they want to understand what it's like to work in those jobs. Some of them don't want to get too far down the road in their academic program and not know what the work is like. And sometimes we can't do job shadowing, for security and privacy reasons. We just don't get that opportunity. But if you can tell them what your job is like, what you like about it, what you've done in your past that led you up to that, that really helps the students understand what they can do to develop their own pathway, because they can use all of these stories to build a really great pathway. You can be a panelist on any sort of talk that community colleges have. We really need panelists that can share their experiences, share what cybersecurity is to you, to your industry, to your area and your work role, because bringing all of these panelists together, we've had great experience. The students love to hear from the panelists. We've done things like bring a threat analyst, a forensics expert, and a pen tester together, and hearing the different roles and how they all tie together, but how they're all very uniquely different, helps the students see where they can mirror some of those skills and where they fit into the cybersecurity community. And then also bringing together different roles, maybe in sales and journalism. Journalists, forensic focus, wrote to me recently and mentioned that she would like to be on one of our outreach events, and I was so thrilled because I hadn't really thought much of it, even though I do experience that marketing groups have a hard time writing about cybersecurity events and activities. So I can see the gap. There's definitely a gap even in journalism. So it was a great idea and opportunity. And so we do career talks, we do different things. And if you'd like to connect with me, that would be greatly appreciated. If you want to do any of these things one time or repeatedly, you're open or you're available, then great. Next slide, please. This is our mentors from Leap Day. As you can see, we had a significant number of mentors. At one time, I counted about 18 mentors for 60 girls. And, that might sound like overkill to you, but I think that it enriched our story and really made it powerful for the students. We are connected with Cyber DEI, Malia Mason, and with Techaria, Abby Darris. She's great as well. And what we've been able to do is bring a very diverse group of mentors together, of different age ranges, different cultural backgrounds, different ethnicities. And this helps our students see that cybersecurity isn't just one type of person, and that all of these different skills are needed in order to secure and defend the systems. Next slide, please. So that's it for my presentation. I do see that there are a couple questions. I'll try to answer those. I didn't put my LinkedIn link because I figured you couldn't connect or you couldn't click it here, but I can put it into the question and answer section. So let me take a look. I see there's a question about a good textbook for basic digital forensics course. I really, really like the forensics book that is on Cengage. It's a great book. I want to say it's called A Guide to Computer Forensics. What's great about it is it covers different aspects of forensics and doesn't go too far into anything beyond just dead forensics. It doesn't go too far into network forensics. So it's very helpful because it covers social media, cloud, it talks about file systems and different aspects like that. But it's easy enough to read. I'll type that in just a minute. So I'm trying to read that. Women mentor set up for cyber girls or girls cyber camp. What should male mentor teachers for the camp keep in mind or consider? Um, so as far as I've experienced, my male mentors that come in are really great about mentioning that they are allies to cybersecurity and helping build diversity and helping with the gender gap. So they try not to come off as the lead or the main role. What I have seen with some particular situations, a couple situations I've watched when we had one man in the room, the girls gravitated to that one male mentor and asked all of their questions. So we tried to help the male mentor direct the girls to other people as well. And then another time that we had one male in a room of 100 girls and about 20 females, our security guard went directly to the male in the room to find out where to have the pizza delivered. So there's just different things that you want to take into consideration so that that one man in the room doesn't become the question station and what appears to be the lead. So try to give them, things to say that are showing their support. Um, let's see. So I answered that one. Sorry, it's a little bit hard to read in the sunlight. Okay, so we have a cybersecurity teacher who wants to do CyberTech Girls camp during COVID. Our school does not allow visitors. What do I recommend? So we did in April a Girl Scouts event, and we used middle school and high school teachers to help us develop using the ed tech tools that the students were already used to. And we focused on the cybersecurity Girl Scout badges. I found that to be very beneficial because it's already built to relate to their age ranges. And then it has sort of a built-in audience because you have the Girl Scouts troops that will want to come and they put the word out on their Girl Scouts boards. Doing CyberTech Girls with the hands-on workshops is a little bit different and unique, and I haven't really found a way to engage in the exact same way that I am in the physical workshops. So I've been trying to do different activities. One that we did was with teachers. So we did a teacher camp this summer, similar to a GenCyber teacher camp. And we focused on hands-on activities that the teachers could do, building a cybersecurity workshop presentation for their students. So it wasn't as intensive as GenCyber, but it definitely focused on the same things with the cybersecurity first principles. Other things you can do is Zoom and use Zoom or whatever platform you're using, but to do those career talks, because if the kids are really interested in cybersecurity, you can find things like on PBS, there's the activities there that you can do as the intermittent interactive activities. You can also do, if you have anybody who can build you a CTF, or you can use Kahoot, there's a lot of quizzes, and just prepare them with the material for that, if that helps. Let's mark that. And so the courses for forensics that I mentioned at the beginning under Cyber Up, that should be available in October of this year. We'll have everything done and it should be up, but I can put my contact info up if you want me to send you something in particular when they're up and ready. And I'd be happy to share my course that I'm already teaching right now. Trying to steer. So we have a cybersecurity professional trying to steer their daughter to the field, but she's more interested in game design. How do I encourage her to explore cyber instead? That's a fun one. So, so I've seen different aspects where different outreach activities will focus on they will focus on the cyber hero aspect. And for me, cybersecurity is more about nurturing and caring and staying around. So you do have some cyber heroes who need to come in and save the day and stop an incident from occurring. But then for the most part, you need cybersecurity professionals who are going to stay around with the organization, who care about the organization and the people of the organization and the customers, that focus on securing things continuously and monitoring and protecting. Where you do have cyber heroes that come in, they might do something as a consultant and leave, But what I believe is most attractive to the middle school and high school students as far as careers is the sort of nursing, nurturing doctor type of roles is what I get. I forgot to mention that we do what I sort of call like the crystal ball activity. Tell us what you want to be in the future. And we use simple, colorful Post-its. We get the cutout ones, hearts and stars and things like that. And we have the girls write down, after we talk about empowerment and cybersecurity, we ask them what they want to be in the future. And I would say like about 10% are writing down something related to one of the careers they heard from the mentors. But the bulk will be some sort of either very artistic, creative, or a professional nurse doctor type of role. And so that's why I focus on the nurturing aspect. So I don't know if there's something there, from a game design, you can start talking like little nudges sort of about how the game itself wouldn't be secure and the money transactions wouldn't be secure if there wasn't cybersecurity, and that we need to protect and defend those items. So that's the direction that I've gone with other kids that are in my life. We talk about those elements of the password, and then there's a lot of videos out there that try to convince kids to do in-game purchases and things, and it shows them how to give their information away for free. You'd be really surprised by some of these videos on YouTube that then lead them to some sort of survey that asks them even the most strange questions. What did you have for breakfast? And I think that some of those kind of questions are meant to throw them off, so that when it asks them where they live or other questions like that, they're more willing to answer because they feel a comfort level. So, I think that talking to kids about exploring cyber really is trying to find what it is that they think that they are good at, and then seeing what portion of cyber fits that type of role. So I hope that answered the question, but if not, please rephrase. I don't see any more open questions, but I'd be happy to answer more if you have any more. So the website is cybertechgirls.org if anybody wants to visit the website. I don't see a way that I can put that into the chat without putting it as the answer to somebody else's question. I'm putting in my LinkedIn URL there. So if anybody would like to connect with me, I'd be happy to share resources. I've done this with teachers across the country that ask, they want to know what I have. I do have some documents that explain equipment and other needs, or what you need in the room. Most of our classes are computer labs, which does make it very easy. We do the cabling lab in the hallway. We just set up some tables and put some paper under those tables, because those clippings aren't very good on the floor, and a little bit harder to pick up. So that's another way to do the cabling lab, so that the girls can be in a group and talk and chat and go through that process. Let me see if there's a new question. Oh, it's CyberTech Girls, not CyberTech Girls, not cybertech.org. Let me add that real quick. There we go. So like I said, happy to connect, and thank you so much for listening. And I hope that you find a way to become a mentor, even if it's short little durations. It's always helpful. Government, industry, everybody has something to offer to somebody else who's trying to get into cybersecurity, even if they just want to secure themselves. It's always nice to help others. Thanks, everyone. Hope you connect and find a way to get out there and do some outreach.